I thought it'd be a good time to go over the volume field on the D-Lev and how to set it up for the way you like to play it. I think most analog Theremins, the volume field is too loose. It's just too large, and it requires often just too much movement on the arm to articulate notes. I like a much smaller hand movement to articulate the notes. Not too small, but not certainly not huge. I think there's a happy medium there for the volume field, particularly when you have nonlinear augmentations to the linear field like the D-Lev has. I think this also applies to the pitch field. I think the pitch field, I know I've said this before, but I think it's too tight on analog Theremins. So this is my first law of theremindynamics, the conservation of motion, a unified field theory of Theremins. So let's see. I have the tuner over here above the volume plate so that it's easier to see, and I've got the LCD backlight off, so hopefully you can see the text there a little bit better. Let's go to the volume page. I've got the knee here turned off and the velocity turned off. And on the V field page, I am turning off the drop. So now the field should be linear. We'll do an ACAL. Okay. Right, so you can see that I'm getting approximately one LED change here for open, closed hand movements in different locations, showing that our field is linear. So the main nonlinearity that we want to use to shape the volume field is what I call a knee, and this is out of the manual. Right, the knee is just you have a linear region above, or in this louder region up here. You have it's linear above a certain point, and you can set where this point is in space. And then below that, the sensitivity is increased, so that you go from like minimum volume to some nominal volume more quickly with a smaller movement of your hand. Higher settings of the knee will give you more abrupt turn on. All the way up will give you sort of an on-off up to this point, but then still give you an expressive region that you can set. So that's the knee. This is a setting of 3, a setting of 10, a setting of 31 at the maximum. So let's go to the volume page and try that out. This is no knee. So you can see that with the linear field, I have to move my hand an awful lot to do quick notes. I mean, maybe you like that if you've gotten used to that, but I find it impossible to play quick, like staccato notes that way, and it takes too much effort. So let's turn up the knee all the way and see what it does. So we're getting that on-off behavior. If we move K-loc from 48 down to, like, say 32, that'll give us 2 LEDs. So it pops on with 2 LEDs. And then we have a 2 LED region above that that's expressive. I think each LED here is 12 dB. I think 24 dB is too much range there. I think it sounds better to have K-loc set to about 48, which gives us just this top LED. And I don't like well, knee can be used, a strong knee can be used obviously for attack phases of things like trumpets and cellos and things. I'm getting a lot of interference here with the pitch field with the camera. It's right next to it. But see, you can see I can go from silence now with a knee of 10. I can go from silence to a nominal volume with just a small movement of my hand. And then I have a region above that that takes a similar movement, small movement of my hand. And I like that. I don't like to move my hand a whole lot when I'm playing. I don't want to move it too little. I don't want it to get all squirrely on me, but I think there's a happy medium here of too much movement and too little movement. You want this, and you can set this on the D-Lev. So that's a knee of 10. You can also add velocity. Let me add some velocity. This is a dynamic thing. So little movements towards the antenna, well, or farther away if you've got it set up for further is louder, will give you like little bursts of volume. I like to use a little bit of that for vocals and cellos and stuff, because it just helps you do these, that. Staccato notes are a lot easier with a little bit of velocity. So let's turn the knee off and the velocity off and go to the V field page and see what drop does. Right now we have a linear field. If we turn drop all the way up, what do we get? It's very much like the knee set to 12 dB, except the drop you can't change the location of its you can't really move the K-loc around. It's just kind of all, it is what it is. And it's a nonlinear, it's a curve nonlinearity. So, and what this does is, if you look, if I turn it off, and you see I've got like 2 LEDs on here, if I turn it up, I get no volume. That's maximum, minimum, maximum. I mean, maximum, minimum, maximum, minimum. All right, this is drop 0. So if I turn drop up, you can see that, it pushes silence down even farther. So that's good for like a moderate amount of drop, like maybe around 10 or so. Helps if your body is near the theremin, like if you're sitting at it. It can help with volume bleed, get rid of the volume bleed and stuff, while still we're kind of retaining the expressiveness of the knee itself. So what you want to do is we want to go with 0 drop or just a small amount of drop. Set up your knee. Most knees are set up in the voices already, so take that as a guide, I guess. And then use drop to maybe further enhance the silence portion, and to maybe shape it a little bit for comfort. Another thing I wanted to talk about was volume level. Now I think volume level is critical to the D-Lev in particular, and it's just like it's critical like on a digital piano or something, like something that's trying to mimic an acoustic instrument. It's critical that you set the level to a realistic level, that when you're listening to it and playing it and things, if the volume of your amplifier or your headphones or whatever is set too high, then you'll be trying to control the volume by choking it here at the plate, and then it won't sound right. Most of the presets are designed to work really over the top LED here, the top 12 dB, and if you're playing below that level, things like formants and filters, cutoffs and things maybe won't be aligned right, and the voice will sound maybe abnormal or strange or something. So try to set your amp volume and your headphone volume, whatever, so that you're playing over this top LED only. Certainly you can go in and edit the presets if you like a larger expressive region, but anyway, that's a good place to start. So set up your volume right. And I think when you play analog theremin, if you're coming from an analog theremin background, this isn't so much of a problem because there's very little timbre variation with volume. Where the D-Lev you can get drastic timbre variation with hand movement or pitch hand movement, volume hand movement or pitch hand movement. So it's something that it's like an extra element that you have to be aware of with your setup and with your levels. So I guess that's about it. All right, well, thanks for listening.